We'll be cutting and sewing a one-sided ruffled skirt. It's beautiful and easy to sew. The first thing we need to do is to prepare our pattern paper. This is the pattern paper we'll be using for this skirt. For the waist and the hip measurements, we need to remove 15% of the measurements from the actual measurement. And to get that, we multiply our waist by 15/100, which will give, for this example, it gave 4.5. Then you now deduct the 4.5 from the 30, which is the actual waist. So you put your waist and you multiply it by 15/100. Like in this example, the waist is 30 inches. So I multiply 30 by 15/100, which gives me 4.5 inches. And I subtract 4.5 inches from 30 inches. That is the new waist that we use for this skirt. And the same goes for the hip. You do the same calculation for the hip. The reason for this reduction is because the material we'll be using for this skirt must be stretchy. So to accommodate the stretchiness, that is why we have to do that calculation. Now this is the pattern paper that we'll be using. The first thing you need to do is to mark the length of your skirt plus the seam allowance at the upper part and the hem allowance, the allowance you use for the hem. So I'll draw the line like that, which is the lower part of the skirt. If you don't want your skirt to be a full length skirt, you can do 3/4 or even half, depending on the length. Whatever length is fine. Once I'm okay with the length, the first thing I will do is to measure from my waistline. I'll measure 2 inches. 2 inches is for my band. If you want your band to be more than that, you can measure more than 2, but for me, I'm okay with 2 inches. So I'll measure the 2 inches, and after measuring the 2 inches, I will draw the line. That is my waistband, and from that waistline, also the upper one, I'll measure from there to my hip line, and I will draw the line also. After drawing my hip line, the next thing is to put my waist measurement divided by 4. Don't forget the calculation that we did earlier. So my new waist now divided by 4 without seam allowance. That is what I'll put here. And also on the hip line, the new hip divided by 4. Don't forget to calculate the new hip. You multiply your actual hip by 15/100, which is the same thing as 0.15. So if your hip is 40, you multiply 40 by 0.15. Whatever your answer is, you will now subtract it from 40. So the new whatever it gives you, that is your new hip, and that is what you are going to use. You calculate for the waist also, and you connect the way I just did without seam allowance. As I said, the reason for this is because the material we are using will be a stretchy material. So from that line, I will measure what I have on the hip line, and I will put whatever I have there on the hemline, so that I can draw my skirt straight down. So after drawing the skirt straight down, this is what I have. The next thing is to cut out the pattern. I'll cut it out. I will also cut the waist band, and I'll keep it because I'll use it later. The next thing I want to do is to mark where my slit will start from. It depends on how you want the skirt to be. For me, I want my slit to start from my nail. If you want it to be open up to your thigh, is left for you. But for me, I measure 21 inches, and remember that I took 2 inches off for the waistband. So put that in consideration when you are marking where you want your slit to start from. So I measured up to my nail length, and I'll mark that point. And I'll transfer that point to the other side. I'll transfer it to the other side. Because I want my skirt to be more like a pencil, on the hemline I'll come in by 0.75. If you like, you can come in by 1 inch, but 0.75 is okay for me, so I decided to draw that line so that the skirt will look more like pencil, and I'll cut out that part. After cutting that part out, I came in more again by 2 inches. I came in more by 2 inches, and I will draw the line from that 2 inches upward to the point where I want my slit to start from. After drawing the line, I will open up this pattern. So I measured from the upper part to where I want my slit to start from. It depends on, like I said earlier, it depends on the length you want. So I now decided to mark at 2.5 inches interval. If your skirt, if your opening will not be as long as mine, or will not get to the nail, then maybe you just mark whatever you have and just divide it into 7 lines. You can divide it into 7 lines depending on where your opening is starting from. So I just marked 2.5 inches interval after on the right and on the left. After doing that, I will join the lines, and after joining the lines, I will cut it. I will slash it open. I will slash it. Then from the upper part, I came down by 0.75, and I'll just join the curve and I'll cut that part off. Now remember that I came in by 2 inches. I'll cut off that part as well. I'll cut it off, and from this side, that is where I will start slashing the line. I will open the lines from this side. That is the side where I cut off the 2 inches. After slashing all the lines, I will pick another pattern paper and I will spread it on it. I will spread these lines on another fresh pattern paper. That is what will give me the essence that I will need together for this skirt. Trust me, this skirt is so easy and beautiful. So after opening it, I will spread it, and I'll be spreading. I use 2.25 inches as the interval, as the distance between each one. 2.25 inches. That was what I used. And then once I'm done, I will cut my fabric, and I will cut two. This pattern is both for the front and for the back. So after opening it up, I will spread it like this. The interval, as I said earlier, is 2.25 inches, and after spreading, I will cut it out. I'm done spreading. At this point, the next thing is to make the curve, to draw lines to join the curves together. And after joining this curve, I will add 0.75 seam allowance at this end, because the 0.75 allowance at this point is where my drawstring will pass. The skirt has a drawstring, that is the rope that will be used to join the ruffle together. So I'll put 0.75 allowance at this point. Then after that, I'll cut out the pattern. Now this is what I have. The next thing is to put it on my fabric, and I'll cut out 2 pieces. After cutting it out, I will take it to my sewing machine and I will sew the sides. I will join this side first. After joining that side, this is what I have. So I'll go join this other side where my drawstring will pass through. After joining, I will open up the seam allowance and I will stitch it. If your material is the one that frayed, don't forget to overlock it. Don't forget to overlock it. So I will open up that seam and I will stitch it down both sides. Now this is what I have. The next thing is to turn the edge of the slit. I will turn the edge of the slit, then I'll put my drawstring, pass it through the channel. I'll fix the waistband and I will turn my hemline. This is what I will use for the drawstring. I cut 2 inches by 60 and I will cut it into 2. And after cutting it, I will just draw it to make it longer. I'll just stretch it and I won't sew it because I want it big like this, but you can sew yours if you like. So I just stretch it like this and pass it through the channel, and that is what I will do. If you want to sew, you can sew, but I won't be sewing. The next thing is to cut my band, and I will reduce the band by unfold. I will reduce it by 1.25 inches. That is, I cut off 2.5 inches because I want the band to be firm. If I maintain what I have on the pattern, it won't be as firm as what I desire. So I'll cut it off, and for the joining I added half an inch seam allowance. So after cutting off what I want, because I want it tight, I will join it together and my skirt is ready. Trust me, this skirt is so beautiful. It's something you want to make. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have learned something new in this tutorial. See you in my next tutorial.